too totally stupid political, but I want to tell you something, man. Like I think just by talking to me, you can kind of tell where I lean on shit.
Yeah.
And so to me, you vote for Democrats, you don't get a cookie, but you vote for Republicans, like, I feel like you're a piece of shit. So my favorite sports team of all time in any sport of anything is the U.S. men's national team. Because it's just so fun. It's so few games. It's the biggest collection of people around the world. Like, I'm not even like rah, rah, rah America like that. I just like this collecting
No, I mean,
parts.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I literally, when they elected Donald Trump, like in this country, I was so depressed. I found myself, I couldn't even root for the U.S. team. I couldn't even root for it. I hated it. And I said to myself, I was like, you know what, man? I'm not going to watch this team again until they don't qualify for the World Cup. I'm like, if they just keep being slightly successful, fuck this. I don't care. Whatever. I'm sick of this.
You can't let Donald Trump, Biden, Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan, you can't let any of those guys affect your love for the U.S. men's national team.
But like,
they do not.
I just didn't feel good to be
here.
I
can understand absolutely why you felt that way, but I'm saying.
So what's funny?
Try and employ a new Jedi mind tricks and because holy cow!
I think soccer in America is more or less left leaning. So to speak.
It is. Yes,
it is for the most part.
A lot more or less left leaning. You know,
because Alexi Lalas, he's kind of like a.
He's the Tucker Carlson. He's the Tucker Carlson of.
Yes,
he is the Tucker Carlson.
Yes. But no, that's what I was getting at is like I said I was not going to watch this team until they just failed to make the World Cup. And son of a bitch, they had a 3% chance of missing the World Cup, and they did. And I turned and at the time, I looked at my girl at the time. I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm going to watch them. And then I got to get back on board with, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler, like this has been so much fun getting back on board. Yeah. I'm kind of so happy we missed 2018. I feel like had we made 2018,
we would have the same issues.
We would have the same issues. That jump. Nope. Yeah.
No, I wish we were there.
I think if we would have made 2018, we'd probably be still playing Beasley. I know.
Dude, for real, that's what I'm saying. I feel like had we made 2018, we'd actually not have progressed this far.
Exactly. I think, and because that failure actually led to a whole, like a kind of a somewhat revolution for U.S. soccer, where they said, what the hell are we doing? Like in the words of Taylor Twellman, and it kind of made them reevaluate players, like the young guys that are going to Europe, and everything just kind of fell into place.
Because I'll say this for two things is I'll say these players, for lack of a better term, don't deserve to have been Bill Bucknered, like Dempsey and Josie and Michael Bradley and stuff, but I think the program progressed further the fact that we actually cut ties earlier than we should have. Because there's so much. I'm going to say this one just for the people in the back. There's so much revisionist history on Michael Bradley. Michael Bradley was an MF&G. He was awesome. Dude, like it was Michael Bradley
he was
and
awesome
who else? It was Michael Bradley
and
Sasha.
When he
Michael Bradley and
Toronto.
Adu. Yeah, I mean, he was good for a while for Toronto. Now,
I hated him when he played in Toronto because I hated him. I hated him when he played for Toronto, and I don't think I made that point known to him. Literally known to him until 2017, where I told him that's why you couldn't cut it in Europe. And I told that to his face.
That's so bogus, dude. I remember, dude. I you know what's funny? I'm so sorry. I don't want to take us too far off track, but I'll say this. Also, James, check the Discord. I'll say this. When Grant Wall passed, one of the first thoughts I had, and one of the first things I said was like, I remember a time when all we had was Grant Wall and JP Della Camera.
Yep.
And then
Rest
I just remembered being at work on my computer, refreshing ESPNsoccer.com constantly to like hopefully get an article from Mike Labella or who was that cat? Oh no, Mike Pecky, my bad. To maybe get Mike Pecky to have an article on there, to maybe get a Brian Sciaretta article.
Alexis Lawless' brother was at one point was writing articles.
Dude, Greg Lawless was awesome on the MLS podcast when it first started.
Yeah. And
dude, I remember these times of like when all we had, like when we had Winning Ugly, and they were all talking about Dallas constantly, and like when all we had was like when Jason Davis was fucking Match Fit USA. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I
mean,
mean? Like I remember when shit was lean, and like it's so crazy to be where we are now and to have the players that we have and have
yeah.
the just to have a real culture about it. Like
I-
before, it just felt like you desperately needed to validate soccer. Now it's just kind of like, well, if you're not down, fuck it. Who cares? Here's the
well,
circle.
here's the
you
thing
know?
though, is that you said it best a couple of months ago when you said there was a point in time where we will have one of our guys, a U.S. player, go out to play in the Premier League, and we were literally desperate to look up news on him and how he did in that game.
Yep.
Before obviously this became all, streaming was available and everything. Um, and now it's like we don't have to go that far. We could just turn on the TV Saturday morning, watch Leeds United, or hey, go to ESPN Plus, watch the Bundesliga, you know, even the La Liga, and watch some of these guys play live. Um,
Yeah,
and
there's literally 30 games with an American in it. I
Guys,
remember.
right before our eyes, a soccer culture is being facilitated and fostered by
Yep.
these places, and it's finally seemingly taken an unconscious hold into us. We few who've been here along the ride the whole way, we're kind of looking around and we're realizing, holy shit, they've built this up, and they built it up around us while we're walking through it. And it's kind of amazing to see. Another thing, like we were talking about how Garth Lagerwey, there's a million Garth Lagerways for the British team to pull from for their coach. There's a small pool from the US teams to pull out. But at least now there is that small pool where years ago we're pulling from Bruce Arena. So it's finally, we've moved on to a next tier up in coaching quality because our players have gone up in quality too. That's been a nice dovetail. I'm going to take a quick leak and I'll leave you guys with that thought.
And I mean, and not only that, is just like you look at the men's national team now compared to 20 years ago. It's the team itself. The U.S. men's national team has become more diverse, a lot more diverse.
Yes, agreed.
Now we are actually fighting Mexico to get some of these Mexican American players to play for the U.S. men's national team, which never happened before. Most of the time, they'll just if you would have asked the same someone 20 years ago, a kid that was Mexican American would just say, hey, do you want to play in Mexico or USA? They'll say Mexico right away.
Oh, for sure.
Now it's like, wait a minute. Do I really want to go to Mexico, or do I want to play for the U.S. national team? And you're seeing that now. With Pepe, with guys like Jesus Ferreira. Jesus Ferreira could have easily gone and played for Colombia.
Dude, well, like it's just look at the people on the team. You got people looking around saying like, well, Timothy Weah's here, Pulisic's here, Weston McKennie. Like like you're starting to get that thing that I feel like some franchises never like the Cubs. I felt like they never really leaned into the fact of like, dude, come to Chicago, play for the Cubs, and if you are the team that wins the World Series, you will never buy a drink again in your life. No matter how bad you screw up with drugs and hookers, you will be able to have a used car business. Like you will be literally a made man if you win a World Series here, right? And so like that's kind of the thing. Like it's starting to feel like some of these cats are like, well, I like all these guys and like it's an exciting team. And you know what? If we're the one who does win with America, here like I'm awesome, right? Like it's like I don't know.
I mean, and it's like for example, like the 2023 U.S. men's national team, January camp roster. You're looking on the roster. You look at this roster, and you have a bunch of guys that are there for the first time, which is always a good sign. You're not having the same guys you had in the World Cup. Now you're really trying to look for more talent. You want to add on to that that last World Cup.
Well, what this roster mostly tells us, like, let's be honest, everybody's gonna bitch and complain about Robinson and Long and Zimmerman, but here's the problem: like every other back is in England or is in Europe.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, there's no other like real good. You need experience somewhere. That's the place to have it.
Yeah.
And they're experimenting. Whereas January camp used to be, here's all the MLS guys who had a good season. One of them will rise up and make the team. And so, like, it's a really good sign to be like, okay, here's the young bucks, man. Here's the deep end, and kick them out. You know, like
exactly. I mean, you have guys like Kate Cowell on the camp. You have Brandon Vasquez. You even have Alejandro Sendejas from Club America.
Wait, are we talking about the camp call up, guys?
Yeah.
we just started. Yeah.
All right, because I was gonna say I saw the thing. I actually had that pulled up too. I had that ready to go.
And think about this. Alejandro Sendejas plays for Club America. Like, this guy, if there's anything about this guy, that he's in the eye of the Mexican press. And for him to say, you know what, I'm gonna go try for the U.S. men's national team, that's saying a lot. Like,
So you guys really think that this camp matters?
It doesn't matter in terms of, I don't, if they were go on to lose the next 2 games, to me it doesn't matter. More or less, what this is doing, it's putting in the seeds for some of these young MLS guys to get that experience and potentially be used throughout the next 4 years in tournaments. Because obviously we're not gonna, the U.S. is not gonna play in the World Cup qualifier. But
so what confuses me when I look at this, and when I look at this, and the first thing that says to me what this roster doesn't matter, what tells me that the evidence I present is Sean Johnson being there at all. Sean Johnson is not in the 2026 U.S. men's national team roster.
He might not be. He might be the veteran guy.
Well, hold on. How old is Sean Johnson? Let's not forget.
He's like let me see how old the milkman is. I think he's in his 30s.
Let's not forget that, like, Brad Friedel was
33.
Playing.
He'll be 37 for the World Cup.
Exactly. Let's not forget Brad Friedel was 38, starting for a Premier League club every game.
But Brad Friedel was part of a U.S. men's national team that had a hard time blocking in a decent goalkeeper. I mean, it was usually him. At one point, it was either him or Casey Keller.
Wait a second. Wait, did you say a decent one? Because I'm going to slap you. The U.S. had world-class keepers all at the same time. Keller, Hanneman, Friedel, Howard.
But the only ones that got used was Casey Keller and Brad Friedel. And then later on, it was Tim Howard.
Dude, I forgot Brad Guzan. That's how good Tim Howard was.
I
forgot about a world-class goalkeeper.
Brad Guzan, but
from Illinois.
We had 5.
We're talking about a rotational goalkeeper role.
No, dude, I'm saying we had 5 world-class keepers at one time. Dude, we had 5 starting Premier League. We had 20%, or hold on, 25. Yes, 25% of the Premier League starting keepers were Americans.
Hey guys, I have a pop quiz for you both. Not to sidetrack, but it relates to Sean Johnson. How many more appearances does Sean Johnson have for New York City FC than he has over Chicago Fire? So
105.
Do a minus. So subtract Fire appearances from his New York appearances.
I say 105.
You think he has 100? He's appeared 105 more times for New York City.
You know what, 80. No, I take that back. 85.
So
I think he's probably in the 30s. Maybe one more. Well, 20s. I'd say in the 20s.
So you think it's a similar number, closer to 20s and 30s? Well, it's going to blow your mind. 176 games played for the Chicago Fire. 179 for New York City. 3.
Wow, he did not feel like he was at the Fire that long. The milkman felt like he left far too early.
He did, and I think he started off in 2010, 2011. It was him and what was the other guy's name? Andrew Dykstra or something like that.
Andrew Dykstra.
Dykstra, there you go.
Well, no, listen. Remember, it was John Bush was the starter, then Dykstra, then Sean Johnson, and then John Bush got traded 4 days before the season. And so we started with Dykstra, and he bottled it for like 3 games, and then Sean Johnson came in and
never
locked that down.
Back. Yeah, he never looked back
until apparently Matt Lampson.
God! But that was a coaching decision. That was a bad coaching decision,
dude. That was Matt Lampson had. Listen, he might be a good man donating to charity, or he might have had so much dirt on that other man who was over coach at the time.
Pano.
Oh my god! Oh, dude. Anytime I think of Pano, I just picture him in his office. All the players in the locker room. He's in his office taking shots of Rumpelmans with a bear playing Russian roulette. That's all I can think of anytime
Well,
Pano's
dude,
name is brought
I
up.
could imagine walking to that office. It's probably smoke filled. These guys are chain smoking. They're over here eating like Eastern European food on the table and deciding who's gonna play. And he's like, "Fuck that. We're Lampson today, not Sean Johnson. Lampson."
Do you guys know where Veljko Paunovic is currently coaching?
Yeah, Chivas.
Chivas!
Yeah,